Well, hello everyone and welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's event, Transformative Document Workflows and the Modern Power of PDFs. We'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to introduce our first presenter today, Tony Lista, National Sales Manager, Education. Welcome, Tony.
Good morning. Thank you, Amanda. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. I'm in the Boston area today, and on behalf of Adobe, thank you very much for joining us here today. As Amanda said, the topic is transformative document workflows and modern power of PDFs. We're excited to show newer users and more experienced users features of Acrobat with workflows using e-signatures and advanced Adobe features that I think you're going to enjoy. We have some really cool demos that my colleague Dan the Man, as I refer to him, will be showing you later on. But before we get started today, I'd like to show you some other Acrobat and sign sessions that are available on demand or a training series that you can take advantage of. On the left-hand side of the screen, I'd like to point out a couple of them that I think are significantly good for our clients. One is Adobe Acrobat Sign and Microsoft integration. For those of you that are Office 365 Teams environments, a terrific session that will help you to use advanced features of the integration, native integration between our Acrobat and Sign products and Microsoft. For those of you that are new to Workday, that have implemented HR or the finance module, or maybe even beginning your effort on the student side, we have some really cool Workday integrations, and Adobe itself uses that integration for our onboarding process for our employees. Today, we're going to create, share, and sign PDFs across devices. We're going to show you collaboration and sharing capabilities. We're going to show you how to standardize the creation of Acrobat products across the platforms. And then we're going to show you some of the compliance and redaction and accessibility features in Acrobat today. So some really cool demos that I think you're going to enjoy. But before we get started, what I'd like to do is to offer a quick poll so that we can learn a little bit more about the over 100 individuals that have joined us here today. I'd like to know what your role is at the organization, how familiar you are with Acrobat as a user, and whether or not you're currently using Acrobat or Sign solutions in your institution, district, or organization today. So as is typical, we have a high concentration of IT people, which is nice. Looks like we have an even mix of beginners and intermediate users, which again is good. I think you'll get a lot of value out of the demo that you'll see. And it looks like most of the individuals on the call today have either got Sign or Acrobat or both. So it's a great mix and very exciting to hear it. And it looks like the things that you're looking to learn today are going to help. Dan is going to be able to show you some of the very interesting features that you'll be able to take care of immediately. Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you for all that information. So today's session is transformative document workflows and the power of PDF. We invite you today to think about how what we'll be showing you today can be used in your institution to improve institutional and student outcomes. So what is digital transformation and transformative document workflows using the modern power of PDFs? That's a mouthful, and it means a lot of different things to different people, schools, and industries. Some think of it as converting paper to digital documents. Others think of transforming and combining different file types into standard secure PDFs with special features like calculations and edit features. And still others think of a seamless document workflow with collaboration in Teams or Outlook on various sensitive files. Think your finance or HR people, and then automating the digital workflows and e-signatures or similar agreements after we've had a chance to collaborate in Teams. I think you'll get a chance to see all of those today. You'll be able to see the converting process, the security process, and also the integration process. COVID motivated many of our clients into digital transformation. Acrobat and Sign assisted our clients with transforming their office-based paper processes to digital, paperless, and remote work processes. It's not an advertisement. We just have learned from our customers in a Hotwire survey that our digital document solutions with e-signatures and workflow automation will ensure that your institution, district, or organization will also get great value from Adobe Acrobat and Sign. Okay, so I know that we had some early adopters and some intermediate users. For those of you that are beginning your document transformation workflow journey, what do you need to consider? Today, I'm going to ask you to think about your institution's different areas at your institution, your dean's offices, your recruiting and admissions or enrollment, your finance or HR areas, your research, or even alumni relations area. Consider the number of paper documents these areas handle daily. Think about automatically taking your recruiting and admissions documents or HR faculty job offers or finance agreements from your shared documents repository and automatically calculating uh, payments due to your colleagues, or combining required documents into a PDF file, or doing some compliance checking on the fly, or then robotically sending these documents out for e-signature. And when completed, these documents are stored automatically in your shared drive. You can go beyond thinking about these things. You can do them today. The future of work, when teams can be anywhere, documents and the information combined with them have never been more important. How they flow through your organization and to outside constituents and customers is critical. Adobe Acrobat and our partnership with organizations like Microsoft can support your document transformation journey. I bring up this slide because we did some work with Forrester Research recently, and they worked with our clients across the spectrum. But one of the things that they pointed out is that 80% of workflows, when we use the term workflows, we think of moving a document from one person to another, sending it out, or collaborating on a document. So Forrester research indicates that the education industry, 80% of workflows still involve paper. And there's a significant economic impact that I'm going to show you a little bit later on here about moving from paper to electronics. And so what we're hoping to do is to convince you both with the demo today and some of these statistics that it's a move that you should not only be considering, but taking advantage of right now. I put up a chart here. It's a little bit of an eye chart, but these are some areas that we work with today across the enterprise where we've automated workflows using Acrobat and Sign. So I'd ask you to consider the heavy document areas of your institution, your district, or your organization, and think about the ways that you'd like to mitigate and improve efficiency by moving to these. Once again, if I've not convinced you of some of the other areas that might be compelling for you to move to Acrobat and Sign. Hopefully, this Forrester research will help you think about it in a way that will be near and dear to your heart, your wallet. Forrester research has indicated across the broad spectrum of our clients that when clients use Acrobat and Sign, they have a 30% increase in transaction speed. Not only do they improve compliance, but they make sure that the compliance activities are followed. There's an 85% reduction in errors by using these automated processes. And an average client is saving 1.5 labor hours per document by automating the process. And not to mention the dollar amounts that we're talking about here. So what we're going to be showing you a little bit later on in terms of a demo can save you time, save you money, and improve performance at your institution, district, or organization. One other area I want to point out, this is again information that was pulled together in some research that we did. Last year, 250 PDFs were open in Adobe Acrobat. Well, 250 billion PDFs were open in Adobe Acrobat last year. So what that means is that we are the most opened product, the most used product for PDFs. We invented it. So that goes without saying. Another interesting statistic for those of you that are Microsoft shops is that 40% of all attachments that are received in an Office environment, Office 365 or Outlook, are PDF documents. So again, our relationship with Microsoft, the number of products that you open and review every day, the products themselves demonstrate the value of PDF. But you don't have to listen to me anymore giving you the overview. We want to show you how we can improve value to your organization, your institution, and demo. What I'd like to do is turn it over to my colleague today, Dan Armstrong. I affectionately refer to him as Dan the Man because I think he's going to wow you. Thanks, Dan.
Well, Tony, I really appreciate you going through that with us. And just to kind of summarize what Tony said in my own words, we have a lot of folks here at Adobe that spend a lot of time thinking about how you interact in your business. And we want to try to find ways to make it better. And we've been doing some things for a long time and we invent new things. But I just want to take a pause and say thanks. And, we've been trusted by a lot of different industries to help them. And, we're bringing all that learning that we've had out in the industry to education to say, how can we, use these things to help? So I'm going to take you through a process today here. Really, when it comes to a document, we can help you do anything. So when we do one of these demos, it's like, where do you start with that? And so I thought I would take us today through a form here. I have an expense reimbursement and I want to walk us through what it would look like if we created a truly interactive, usable, modern thing out of this, right? So I'm in Word and it's just built out. It's got a few things that I'm going to put in here. I'm going to put a little button in here for receipts and forms and other things. But it's ready to go. And I have my document cloud is integrated here. So I'm just going to do this reimbursement form. And this will be my edit. So all I'm doing here is I'm just going to convert this off to a PDF. So it's going to take this Word document for me and get this set up in a PDF so that I can take this over to Acrobat. So in my downloads here, I'm just going to grab that PDF and let's have a look at it. So I'm in Acrobat. I've got this PDF that just came out of Word and I've got a few things that I need to do with it. And if you've ever used, our tools before, then, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to start by setting this up to prepare a form. Okay. Now I want to call out right here. There's an option here. It tells me right here, if it requires signatures, I can check that box and throw it in there. What I'm going to do for this particular demo today is not necessarily going to require a signature, but I'm going to show you how this will work. So when I hit start, you can see very quickly that all the boxes sort of filled in. I've got a couple notes over here. I got some things to work on with payment and whatnot. But our artificial intelligence that we started back in 2015, before AI was really considered important, we built that over time. And so Adobe Sensei can really come in and build this out for me. It did a great job naming things. I've got a little issue here. This should be called like an employee ID, for example. ID, and we'll separate that with a little underscore here. Oops. All right. And then there we go. Okay. And so that one's correct. And then this one right here, I would just need to change to department. And you can see, like, I'm just leaving this text field properties box open because it's going to change. Instead of like closing it every time, we're used to like clicking save. I can just leave it open because anytime I need to edit a property, well, it'll just, pop up in here. So as I look at this, everything else is pretty good. I just need to do like my subtotals and some calculations over here. So to do that, I'm just going to grab a text box, and I always like to line it up to one, above it so that I can make sure it's sort of the same size. And then I can just move it down a little bit. There we go. Looks good. Okay. And so then we'll call this subtotal, right? And then I'm going to tell that this needs to be a number so that I get my currency symbol here, right? And I'm going to do a simple calculation here. And we're just going to say it's the sum. And the way this works is it's going to ask me to pick the fields that I want to add up. And so I'm going to grab these ones that are from my cost right here. Just one moment while I do that. Okay. And there we go. And then I can just say, okay. And so it puts a dollar sign in here with zeros. And I can use that field now to help me with like the next ones. So if I just copy that and paste it, I can bring that over here and say, we'll put it here. And this one is now going to be called advance underscore payment, right? So if we paid anything prior, and in the calculation, I'm going to say that's not calculated, and then we're in good shape. So we'll make one more copy, and we'll paste that in. And this one's going to be for the total for the document here. So this one, we're going to call total. And this one is going to have a calculation. And we're going to do really simplified notation. I really like this particular one. It's easy. As long as I can type while I talk. And then I'm just going to go minus and then underscore payment. Right? So that's all I'm doing. Subtotal minus advance underscore payment. So it knows which field to look for. Okay. So I'm going to take a quick pause in building it, and I'm going to go preview this. And let's just see if this works here. So if I plug in like a 12 here, and I plug in like a 14 here, it's adding up. And if I plug in, this is $10 that was prepaid, then my 16's coming in and everything looks pretty good. So far, so good. Calculations look great. No issues there. And we'll just clear that out. Okay, cool. And I'm going to go back now to editing this. So what I want to do is I want to add some functionality to this PDF. And I want to show you a cool thing that I think maybe, we haven't looked at in a long time together or something. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to grab an image. And in this case, I have a couple buttons. So I have an upload button. And so I'm going to drop it here on the page. And we'll just make it a little bit smaller here. Okay. There we go. And I'm happy with that. And I'm going to go grab one more image. And I'm going to grab a submit button here. Okay. And we'll drop it. Again, I like to just drop things on top of each other because then I can sort of like make sure that everything's kind of the right size. And I can hold my shift key while I move it so that it keeps it nice and straight. There we go. Okay. So I've got these buttons in here, and one of them I want to program this button so that it can upload, say, a receipt. And I want to set up this one so that it can like submit the form. And in this case, we're going to email it off from right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my build forms here, and I'm just going to grab a button, and I'm going to drag this over the top of the image like so. And this is going to be called upload underscore button. And there we go. And I'm going to click into the properties here. And the appearance of this, I'm actually going to make sure that it's transparent because I just want it to be invisible on top of this button. And then the action here is really cool. I can actually run a JavaScript. So when I click this button, it'll run Java for me. And so I just need to go grab my JavaScript now. So right here, I'll tell you a little bit about this in a second. But I'm just going to paste in this JavaScript. So this is going to say, hey, do this thing. Okay. And what's cool now is, so I've told it like, hey, I want you to run a JavaScript. Well, one of the tools inside of Acrobat is that we have a JavaScript tool. Okay. And so, for example, there we go. Tools, and we'll go to Java. And so when I come grab that JavaScript tool, I can come in here and I can add scripts to this particular PDF. So anything you want to create or come up with in Java, you can do it right here. The other thing to say is we do have a link we're going to share at the end that has sort of access to some libraries of things you can copy and paste. Like me personally, I am not a Java guy, and I've never actually really typed a lot of JavaScript in my life. But right here, I have my JavaScript editor. So I can come over here and I've got this bit of JavaScript code. And just like any of you might do, I just said I need an upload button in Acrobat, and it gave me the JavaScript code. So I just copied it. And now it knows what to do when I'm going to import a file. Okay. So when I click on this button now, it will open up and it will give me an opportunity to attach a file. So for example, if I had like, this piece of file here that I wanted to add, it would upload that to it. And if in Acrobat, I look at the attachments right here, there's that file that I attached to this PDF. So there's no reason to have to do if people are submitting receipts with this, right? That's the whole point. They could just attach it all to this PDF through this little JavaScript upload button, and everything's in good shape. And so when you open it up, you'll always have this attachment with that particular PDF. And then, of course, we can download those, save them, do whatever we want to do with that. Okay. For right now, I'm just going to pull that out because I'm not quite ready to move to that step. But that's what that would look like as far as integrating some JavaScript right here inside of Acrobat. Okay. We're going to do a similar thing now with this other button. So here's my field I already built. I'm going to copy and paste that. And I'm going to put this one over my submit button here. And this one is going to be called submit. Okay. And then in the actions over here, instead of running a JavaScript, I'm going to tell it I want it to submit a form. Okay. So I'm going to delete the JavaScript thing, and I'm going to add the submitting of a form. And we're going to do this PDF. And in my JavaScript over here too, in my text files, I should say, I have this mail to. So the point of this is I want it to send a email to this URL when I click on the button. So it says it needs a URL. So if you just do the mail to : and then the email address, it will pop up your email client and you'll be able to send that out. So if I click OK on that and we preview this, now when I click submit, it asks if I want to send it with my mail. And when I open that, then here it is, and it's attached and it's ready to go. I just click send. Okay. So that button's working now, and our other button's working. And so now the only thing we want to check now is we just want to take a quick moment and pause and think that perhaps someone who uses this form may need it to be accessible. And when we're building these kind of forms, we need to always kind of be thinking about how do we make this accessible. So there is an accessibility check here. I don't have time to go through all of accessibility today. And I know mine is not going to be perfectly accessible by the time we get done, but I want to like cover some of this with you. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, I'm going to auto tag this document. Because when you look at this, it'll go through and find the form fields, and it's going to give me a summary. Like there's some alt text missing. There's some problems with your introduction, and I can kind of see that. But it built all these tags for me. And so now each of these things is easy to like kind of select and see like what it's doing. Okay. So with that, I'm going to do one more thing here then, and I'm just going to do a quick accessibility check. So I tagged it all, and I just want to run the accessibility checker to see what any issues I have. And I want to say first, this accessibility checker is really great. It is going to make sure that the document is WCAG 2.0 compliant. Also, it will do PDF universal accessibility or the ISO 1428, 289, sorry, that we deal with. So any of those that you need to hit, the accessibility checker will make sure that it connects those things. But you'll see once I click start checking, like when I click in this document issues, for example, this is all passed. Logical order, see, it says it needs a manual check. So this is where you would go through the reading order and make sure like all the boxes are in the right order. You need to manually do that because there's not a great way for like a checker to pull that off. But I do see my title failed. So if I click on right click it and I click fix, then it's going to suggest a title to me based on some other things. So it looks like I missed a Y. There we go. And that will now say passed. Okay. And we have some other issues here too, like with alternate text. If there's some figures that didn't make it, for example, so my logo doesn't have anything. So I could click fix and it will open my box here. So I would say Altura University logo, for example, and I can go to the next issue. Let's see, we got a little box down there at the bottom, okay? And I could work my way through this and see all the pieces that I need to work on for my alternate text. So there's my upload button, for example. And sometimes, because I just did the auto tag, it will pick up things that shouldn't be part of the auto tag, right? And so there we go. And then I can do that kind of work and it'll start to work through and you'll see those disappear. So you can work through this accessibility checker to make sure that this is all accessible and everything is good. Okay. All right. So once that part is done and I went through all my accessibility, I made sure this is right. This form is ready to be used now. And so let's take a look at how we could use this and kind of share and get this out to other people. So I'm just going to go to File and I'm going to do a Save As. And we'll just come in here and I'm going to call this now April just for fun. And then now I can start to, fill this in. So I would say, Altura University. Okay, and then this would be Dan, and then I would do my employee ID, and department is marketing. Sounds good. And so the date was maybe 4-1, and we did parking, and this is like a travel fee, for example. Okay, and that travel fee, it's like I don't know what it was. Parking is like $100 or something for a few days. And so that'll come in here. And let's say, advance payment of like $40. So it's going to say like I have $60 here that needs to come to me. And so I could fill this in and then I could send it off now for some approval to say, hey, could you take a look at this and see if this is okay? So right here, I'm going to send that off to my approver person, which in my case is great because that happens to be me. So I can approve my own reimbursement form. That's pretty fancy. Anyway, give it just a moment here and we'll take a look at that. And there we go. So I'm going to jump over to my phone now. And here is the email that I just got for that. So I can click open. It's going to open it up inside of Acrobat Reader, and I can see this form that was now, filled in. I have options down here to highlight. I have some options to leave some comments. So if I want to like click in here, for example, and say, wasn't the original payment like $50? Question mark, post. And then I could, if there was any other comments that I needed to put in here, I could. Like I said, lots of options here as far as to how I want to do that. But once I'm done sort of looking at it, you can see this is a shared file, and I've left my comment and marked it up and done whatever I wanted to here. Back here inside of Acrobat now, those comments are going to pop up over here in the left once I on the right. And so then I'll be able to come in and see those comments and make any adjustments, that I want to. And it'll just take a moment for that comment to come in. But that's kind of how the commenting, sharing part of this works. And the last piece that I need to do here, though, is I want to upload that receipt, right? And the problem is, I don't know if you can hear my piece of paper, but that's my problem, is I now have a paper receipt that I need a solution for. And so I'm going to jump over here to one of our other great tools, Adobe Scan. And this is pretty straightforward. I'm just going to hold this over the piece of paper here. And I can now come in and trim this up a bit. And what's great about this is it's putting it directly into the cloud. So I don't ever have to worry now about losing this receipt. Okay. And so here it is. This is my receipt from parking. And I'll change that to parking receipt. Oops. There we go. And we'll just rename that and save it. So now this is part of my document cloud. And so anywhere I go, any devices I'm on, I can use this. And I'm going to share a copy, and I'm just going to send this right over to my computer here, just because I'm close, to make it simple. Okay. And so now that receipt's been sent over and dropped in. So when I come into Acrobat, then I click upload, I can just go to my downloads, and there's my parking receipt.pdf. I can click select. I can check it in my attachments that is now attached. That took all of what, like a minute and a half to take that paper receipt and put it in my Acrobat file. And now I'm done, and I can click submit here, and it will say continue, and I can click send, and off it goes. So that's kind of a look at like a real modern way that we can look at doing PDF right here in Acrobat. Tons of features. So if you need your documents to be able to do more, like I said, we have some opportunities there with a lot of different ways that we can interact with that. So a couple things that I'll call out that we have, and we're going to share with you on our resources section, is we've got some free resources for you, some places you can go to get some learning and training on these. Our JavaScript page for inside of Acrobat, as well as we have a great education exchange page that has a free self-paced course for doing work inside of PDF. And then I also linked out a couple for you that are kind of like expert training courses. Like if you really need to go deep into Acrobat and Document Cloud, there's a great full course on LinkedIn Learning. It is a paid option. And also there is a really great course there by Chad Chelius that does a really deep dive into accessibility and making sure your documents are perfect. So with that, I think that's my part for today. And I want to turn it over back to Tony to kind of recap us and pick up some things. And I think we're going to answer some questions in a minute. So Tony, if you want to take us away.
Dan, wow. I was just sitting there. Dan, as you were going through that, and I was thinking of about a half a dozen client conversations I had this week where these use cases can would be used. So I just want to share out to those of you on the phone today, or on the meeting today, part of my responsibility is to advise clients on how to use these products. And I had a use case in the K-12 district where in the main office, they were getting paper in the main office where people would be bringing in excuses or health records or whatever. When Dan showed you Adobe Scan, it occurred to me that in the K-12 main office where everybody's dropping off paperwork, that Adobe Scan would be a great tool to have. And then a client that I work with up here in the Massachusetts area, community college, has the need for payroll adjustments on adjunct instructors. So today they go to the dean's office, they have a manual document that they fill out to ask for time off, compensation changes, or reimbursement for classes that they take. The use case that you provided, I'm going to turn over to this client right away because they can use this right now. So thank you again, Dan. I'm going to point out again on the screen that we're looking at. Dan had talked about some of the resources that you can take advantage of. Each one of these is a link. So how to build a form from scratch, the JavaScript that he used. The JavaScript that he used can be done for many things. I saw one of the questions that somebody asked in the chat box is, can I send it out to multiple emails? Yes, you can do that. Can I pre-populate a form with information? Yes, you can do that. There are a number of different features that Dan demonstrated today that you can use right now. And so we encourage you to look at these links. You'll have some interesting learning experiences, and you'll be able to get great benefit out of using this information. And certainly keep my contact information, Dan's contact information handy if you'd like to explore, higher content that we can help you out with. At this point in time, I'm going to wrap it up and turn it over to my colleagues that are involved with Cindy and others that are involved with helping to answer questions. So I think we have, about another 10 or 15 minutes, Amanda, before we have to sign off. But for the purpose right now, we'd love to answer questions. There is one other link that Amanda just put into the chat box. It's an edX link. Again, it's for teaching and learning how to use PDFs in your curriculum. So a great resource as well. So again, thank you very much, and we'll wrap things up and turn it over to Q&A.
Great, thanks, Tony. My name is Cindy Bringhurst. I'm a Document Cloud solution consultant, and I will be moderating the questions. First question, do the people receiving these documents what version do they need to be able to send and fill out? What version of Acrobat do they need?
Yeah.
Sorry, I kind of butchered that question. Go ahead, Deb.
No, you're good, Cindy, and that makes sense. So any of our Acrobat Reader or Acrobat Pro will open this PDF. It is a standard, PDF, even though there's functionality in it. The running of JavaScript is something that's supported and has been for a long time in PDF. So, yeah. So they don't need anything special to fill it out.
So if somebody wants to send out a form for signature, they're creating this form, do they need Acrobat Pro?
Yeah, so if you want to put like signatures and things on it that are like legally binding, then it's really actually pretty great because this document would already be built. And so you could bring that into Sign, and then you would be able, it would honor the fields. Okay, so any fields you have, the names you have, the calculations you have, Sign honors all of that. The only thing you would change is how the files are uploaded because Sign has its own built-in upload option. If you're only using Acrobat, you could insert a fill-in sign box here and request somebody to sign this. All those things are possible.
Great. Next question. Can you pre-populate forms with information based on the user's login?
So that kind of thing is usually handled by like inside of like Adobe Sign, that kind of stuff's possible because we're verifying the person's identity when they're like coming into the signing experience. From within Acrobat, as far as pulling information from like their Creative Cloud login, that's going to be a different situation. But within Acrobat Sign, in our actual signature process, that absolutely can be brought in.
Okay. You showed some accessibility tools. If it passes the accessibility checker, does that mean it's fully accessible?
Yeah, so we have a good chat there one day about accessibility. I think you'll find in your organizations the folks that deal with this, accessibility is deep. Okay, we have to check everything: the tabbing order, for example, and the order in which fields are going to be read. We got to make sure there's any fragments get pulled out of there. There's a lot of stuff that requires you to manually go through and kind of make sure that it's good. And the level of depth you're going to go to on your accessibility is up to you. I would always encourage you to go an extra level deeper, but the auto checker here inside of Acrobat is going to do a good job with WCAG 2.0 and the ISO 14289. So both of those things are going to be like checked, but just because those are checked doesn't necessarily mean that the form is super easy to use for someone who depends on accessibility.
For Adobe Scan, is it possible to change the default save location to a different cloud location? Example, OneDrive or Google Drive?
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess I haven't really run that particular question down yet. Because by default, it uses the sign service and saves it into the cloud, like document cloud. You can export those and put those anywhere you want. As far as it having a different save location, I'm not sure about that because this is a mobile application, so it sort of saves it here inside the app. So that one I don't know. I would lean on it probably is going to have to live in Document Cloud, but I'm sure from Document Cloud you could set up a thing so that all of your documents in Document Cloud get rerouted to like a SharePoint, for example. That part I'm fairly confident of, but the scan itself is going to probably land in Document Cloud initially, at least.
Okay, next question. Can the Adobe PDFs be integrated with Workday? And maybe talk about some of the other integrations as well.
Yeah, so that's where a lot of work gets done. So we have a lot of places that we integrate there, Salesforce, Workday, all these things. So really what we're going to be doing there as far as integrations, like this PDF I showed you today would be something that you would say, for example, this form is filled in and maybe we use something like Power Automate and the form's filled in. Instead of it submitting it to an email, then it sends it to Power Automate, which triggers a thing that does, XYZ. So of course you can always upload a PDF into something like Workday. Our signed signature solutions have been working with Workday for a very long time. So any documentation or things you have in Workday, you can send it from there and the documents will land right back in that particular person's record. So lots of choices, and those are all pre-built integrations. And if you need to go deeper, what I showed you today was really just like Acrobat, like let's get to the basics and build a really foundationally good document so that when we connect it to like an API, for example, well, I could connect that document I just made to a document generating API where I could have a CSV that had all the information, and our document APIs can take the CSV, pre-populate the field for like 800 people, and then it could send all those out for signature in the same motion. So like what I showed you today was a good foundational practice for creating a reusable path so that all your PDFs are going to work with other integrations and all those types of things. So that you do the work once, right? And then when you need to do something else or automate it, then it will all work.
Thanks. Okay, last question. It looks like we're slowing down in the chat pod.
Okay.
We saw an example of JavaScript. What are the limitations to using JavaScript in Acrobat?
You know, I'm gonna be completely transparent on this. I am not the guy that would sit down and write JavaScript for a living, but I know it's super powerful and that I need it in my life. So I like to find people who do write JavaScript, and I use some of their code. So for this example, Cindy, so I don't know the limitation of what can be done. What I do know is, like, for this example, I wanted an upload button. So I literally just searched like create JavaScript upload button in Acrobat. And it took me right to our Adobe community pages. And there was a discussion that had happened, you know, a couple of years ago, honestly. And all the code was right there in the discussion. I provided a link here for the JavaScript documentation that will tell you everything you can do with it. And you can kind of push those limits, you know, and see how far we get. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can do to enable stuff to happen right there in Acrobat.
Great. Thank you, Dan, for answering those questions. Amanda, we'll have you take it over from here.
Perfect. I want to thank all of our presenters today and all of you for showing up and spending your time with us. We do have a couple final poll questions for you on the screen. Your feedback will help us for future events. Also, a reminder that there are resources available to you. Those are under the question and answer pod on the lower left-hand corner of your screen. We encourage all of you to bookmark those for future reference and have them in your resources. Thanks again for joining.